So now we are in the very last session on panel discussion. So we'll request Mark to chair the session and invite Professor Alex, Professor Romain, and Dr. Jill. Please join the panel discussion.
Okay. Yes. So if we could have a couple of chairs down there, maybe grab another couple of chairs from there. So yes, I'd like to invite Jill Juergensen, is that correct? Thank you. So please have a seat, and Alex Rogers and Romain Serziel to join us for the panel, and I will sit at the end here to sort of be chair for the panel here. So Erick, please add yourself to the end. So what I'd like to do just to ask each of the panel members just to remind us about who you are and your perspective before we start the discussion, and then we'll go round to ask for questions from the room. I've got a bit of an idea for a starter question to ask for the panel. So maybe Alex, start from you, and then just pass on the microphone.
Yep. So I'm a computer scientist, and a lot of my work has addressed the smart grid and making sort of optimal use of low carbon energy in the grid.
So I'm a computer scientist too, working in AI for audio, and trying to move big algorithm to embedded devices. And so on the way, I need to monitor the energy consumption.
I'm a business scholar, and I look at innovation and how technological innovation co-evolve with organizational and social systems.
Yes, so I'm Erick, Sperandio. I'm Associate Professor in Clean Air, in AI for Clean Air Systems, and also the Program Lead of AI Sustainability here in the University of Surrey. So my interests are related to how we can make AI development more sustainable, not only in terms of data and energy efficiency, but also in terms of social efficiency and social friendliness, and also how to make AI development better developed for sustainability challenges.
That's great, thank you. So we've got an opportunity for anyone who would like to bring up some questions. Maybe there was something you didn't have a chance to ask earlier on, to ask the panel. And if there's a particular panel member that you want to ask to, then please address them. Otherwise, if you'd like everybody to say something, then please do so. So who would like to start? And if nobody volunteers something, I will start with something to get the ball rolling. Okay, so really starting from me here, Erick was talking earlier on about the things that we are trying to do at the University of Surrey to try and bring people together across these different areas to create something which is the sort of overlap between AI and sustainability. But what is it that we need to do to get communication happening in this area? Maybe there's additional training that we need for people in this area. How do we actually get activity to happen across this? Perhaps, well, Erick, you already talked about this, so perhaps I'll start with the next one. Okay.
Yeah. No worries. So, well, that's a very important question. Actually, it's the reason that why we are here today, right? So our sustainability workshop, I'm not sure what is the name of, okay, so at some point here, is to bridge the gap between the AI world that is too broad and the sustainability world that is also too broad. And we have many concerns and challenges related to how we can make AI development more sustainable. Once again, we have been discussing much about here how we can improve energy efficiency of AI models during training and different stages, but also how to make data efficiency more widely available for us to work with AI models, but also and also how can we once again avoid and tackle bias and fairness in machine learning models and make them more ethical and trustworthy. And I think, and then there is the other side, which is how can we use AI to achieve sustainable development goals? AI for clean air, for clean water, it's extreme weather events, etc. So I think we need to really enable people to discuss together those challenges. Those who are bringing knowledge in disciplines that are beyond our AI expertise, because ourselves many times we are much worried about how we can make AI deployment or training more energy efficient, for example. But what about the social aspects related to the use of AI? The types of disruptions that we are going to bring to the society in terms of job disruptions, for example. So many times we need to be discussed about this. So I think we need to get people to enable people to get around and to discuss this in an interdisciplinary way.
Okay, thanks. And Jill?
Yeah, I would say things like this, so workshops and also pan-university institutes. But I think the reality is that these things are time consuming, and the reality is also that we have all our own different projects and research papers going on, and this goes then back to time and commitment as well. And I think if we continue to incentivize researchers based on purely their research output within their disciplines, then I think it's difficult to create that space for researchers to branch out, because obviously if I'm just incentivized by this whole narrative of publish or perish, then I'm going to just follow up my own projects. But I think we are seeing good developments in terms of the REF, for instance, which is now increasingly also rewarding impact. And so I think rather than just focusing on your research projects, and I don't know about your disciplines, but in my discipline, it can really take many years to get a paper published. I think incentivizing researchers to branch out, to have impact beyond their own sort of academic silo, I think that's an important sort of institutional level support that we can do in order to get these workshops going and to get people out of their silos and their ivory towers and speak to other people at the university about these things.
Yeah, great, thanks. Romain?
Well, regarding the why, I think it's obvious, and because like if we don't have places like this, then we're bound to like what as a computer scientist, when we think like we're addressing sustainability, then well, it might just be wrong or might not have much effect or something, and the other way around, like people might not clearly see what is feasible or not from a computer science point of view. We have the example about the AI Act saying to monitor, but technically, how do we do that? So it's important that the community get together and try to have like a more meaningful impact. Now, as to how, I think that's a pretty difficult question. I think like gathering like this are important, and possibly like spreading the word and trying to have like maybe like more people being like aware of the importance of this and trying to join gathering, like multidisciplinary gathering like this. But, other than that, I don't have like the magic solution.
Okay, thanks, Romain. And Alex?
Yeah, so I think one thing is there's danger of trying to be too broad. So sustainability for AI and AI for sustainability, they seem very distinct things. Apart from the fact they've got the same words in the titles. And I kind of think that in my experience with you in the AI for sustainability world, there's quite a sort of impedance mismatch between computer scientists who like to deploy an algorithm on a problem and then often move on to another problem, whereas someone who's in the sort of sustainable development place where their project will be very focused in the long term. And it's kind of a challenge to try and sort of get those two timescales aligned. The natural inclination of most sort of machine learning, computer science people is to solve a problem and then look for another place where they can apply the same algorithm. Whereas to address sustainable development problems, you really need a more long-term focus. So it's kind of setting up pairing AI researchers and sustainable development researchers who can sort of collaborate over the long term.
So questions. Yeah, so let's.
Your question about how do you kind of encourage people to learn more, really. We're in a university, I think Jill's got a point, whereby we are told that we've got to publish or perish in our particular expertise. I did some work in 2017 asking people who were supposed to be teaching students if they knew what digitalization was or the fourth industrial revolution. It's quite interesting how many senior members of faculty did not know at that time. So having something like this, where it's optional to go, right, just to keep current, I think that there's a question about what we're actually transmitting as knowledge. And when we talk about interdisciplinary, we don't actually do it. So this is quite unique to have something together, but even so, people are presenting in their silos, right? And I think it's about getting people out of their comfort zone. So scientists out of their comfort zone, social scientists out of their comfort zone, to try and understand the other side. I don't mean it's a dark side, but it is the other side. I'm not a scientist. I've got a PhD in applied science, but the only reason why I went to science is because I understood management and I didn't understand science. And what I wanted to investigate was the world of science. But I think I found it really difficult in the university that I was in to straddle the two, right? And that was just me doing a PhD. And when I'm now in the university as a member of faculty, it's even worse, trying to straddle. So when you're talking about two really significant things, sustainability and AI, which is going to impact everything, it's going to impact our research, the way that we teach, the existence of the university, there isn't a forum to have that dialogue. And I think really it needs to be not optional, but we need to make people, and it sounds terrible, but make people understand and feel comfortable about understanding this if we're really to get real solutions for society.
So maybe just as chair, I could pick up just a question about getting people to understand each other. About 20 years ago, I was working in what was a new digital music area. And so we had a UK research network to get the computer science people, signal processing people, the music people, the library people to get to talk to. And it took about 3 years of just that net before people understood each other's language that they're using in there. So I think you're quite right about that aspect, but there's a lot of challenging, and this is 20 years later, and still we have some of the same problems. Thank you. Maybe we'll go on to comment.
No, I mean, I concur with the ongoing problems of getting people out of silos, but I mean, it is happening. Stuff's going on. People are talking different ways. You're starting to see funders recognize interdisciplinarity, and I think that we're seeing a lot more of, right, you have to have, I honestly think science has got to do a bit more of a shift towards the social sciences. I think the social sciences have put their hand up and said, look, come on, get us involved. But you need to be involved at the beginning. Like, you should have people doing, say, law and policy and regulation at the beginning. Something I think about making this have a difference is about bringing into events like this as well, people from outside academia. I mean, we've got some representations from outside academia, but being able to bring in business people, being able to bring in local government is really good, and Surrey's starting to have some connections with local government. You've got the Climate Change Commission and starting, and just having events like this that are interdisciplinary but have an impact, potentially have a business impact, and rooting it in within the county, because we're not London. You know, I used to be at UCL, and UCL, they'd always get some people in from somewhere in London. But for Surrey, I think there's definitely an opportunity to build into Surrey. And I think that that's an idea that's kind of floated around at the more senior levels. And I think the Institute of Sustainability is up for it, and I'm sure the AI is. But I think we'll practice what we're talking about and seeing that happen. I think that would be really good. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. Did anyone from the panel want to pick up on any of those questions?
Just to mention, well, what they just mentioned. Thank you so much. And that's definitely the purpose of our program, actually, to get people together, different disciplines. It's always hard to get people together. This publisher peril is something that really concerns us. But at the end of the day, we need to be in touch with each other. Otherwise, we could not be doing this together. That's the whole point. So it's a challenge, of course, and also to bring people and to raise awareness. People from the outside world, from the industry, from business, from the society, from the government. So I would like actually to bring to you a challenge for all of you here. Let's make this together. Otherwise, we cannot do this alone. It's not about us as computer scientists, not about social scientists or environmental scientists. It's all of us together trying to achieve this together. That's the whole point.
I think what I would like to pick up on as well, if that's okay, is I think at least here in Surrey, as Surrey Business School, we are also in a very good position because we can draw upon a very strong computer science department and engineering department. And if you look at, for instance, the rankings in the FT, the top business schools, they're only business schools. Sometimes they have a law department, but I wonder in 10 years' time, who's going to be at the top when these business schools, they might not have this ecosystem that we have here, where I can pop over to the engineering department or I can pop over to the computer science department to draw together interdisciplinary research. I wonder whether we can also use this, moving away a bit from the cynical view, but more as an opportunistic perspective for universities like ours, where we do have a strong social science faculty and strong computer scientists and strong engineers. So we can also see this as a great time to create momentum within a place like this.
Yeah, maybe before anyone else picks up, from this multidisciplinary perspective, I think it is hard to get multidisciplinary stuff to work. And I know the funding councils have had problems with reviewers because the reviewers are not multidisciplinary. They will look at your proposal with their vision and see what's wrong with their bit in there. But on the other side, by building something multidisciplinary, it's actually really exciting to do that, at least for me. And you can propose to do things with a team of people that no one person or one department would be able to do on your own. And so it is possible to get that excitement across to the reviewers and the funders to be able to do that. And I think there's particularly a real opportunity for newer earlier career staff to come up in this, because you can be the person who's going to be the expert in this overlapping area. But you do need those skills to be able to talk to other people, and just talk to random people over coffee is actually one of those things that I've had to work at. Okay, any more questions? Yes.
Yes, so I think the outreach seems to be important as well. A lot of people are not aware of the energy being used for the current AI paradigm. Like for crypto, it was widely known, and that kind of led a lot of people away from crypto. Now, I think if there would be an opportunity with the new technology you work on, quantum, we heard neuromorphic computing, for example, brain inspired. I think if that could be in the BBC, that the current paradigm is not very sustainable, that would also help. We talked of the AI Act, potentially a little bit more pressure, because people don't know when they write a line on generative AI, how much power it consumes on the processing until they get the response, for example. So that kind of education would also be great, I think, from the academia and industry.
Anyone want to pick up on that one, Romain?
Yeah, quickly. But I think before reaching out to the public, if you look, at least in my communities in audio, then many people, are not aware or simply don't care about the energy consumption of the system. So, if as a researcher involved in AI, we already don't know about it or don't care about it, I mean, we should probably start by that before trying to reach out to the public. But so yeah.
Yeah, Erick.
This subject really excites me, you know. There is estimated 1 year ago, it was estimated that in May 2023, it was estimated that ChatGPT powered by GPT-3 was consuming around 300 US households equivalent energy consumption to be available for the whole world to do inference 1 year ago. So it's too much. Currently, there is a trend that by 2030, 1/5 of the whole world energy supply would be dedicated to enable AI models to be running for people on the edge or in the clouds, etc. And I think it's underestimated, actually. It's really worrying. It really worries me because this trend, we need to do something to shift this paradigm to a lower level, you know. But for us, it's also important to raise this by raising awareness, to speak aloud to the outside world. Of course, this is very important, but how can we reach the outside world? It's really, really challenging. Then perhaps by going to the media, by going to the social media, and using a language that's not just that can be understood by only scientists, but also to the general people, so people can understand. Oh, this is very important.
Okay, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say 300 households for ChatGPT sounds quite cheap, considering the impact it's had worldwide. But I'd argue that if 20% of the energy consumption is going to be for AI, it's going to have to be providing some value. We're not going to spend thousands of pounds each individually on AI for no value. So at the moment, it seems quite wasteful because everyone's sort of betting on, no one knows what the payoff is. But at some point, you're going to stop running big servers and pumping electricity into services that aren't going to generate any value for anyone because no one's going to want to pay for them. So I kind of think that some of the sustainability of AI will just sort of work itself out with the market because you have to pay for the electricity ultimately, and if it's not providing value, no one will continue to subsidize it. So I kind of think some of that will just work itself out like any engineering system where it becomes more efficient over time, because if you're running servers, more efficient servers will reduce your costs and your profit will go up. So to some degree, I think that the sustainability of AI is kind of just normal engineering. It's improving systems, making them more energy efficient, and because it reduces your costs, and there's a mechanism for that. And we should be looking at cases where the market won't solve those problems. So where are the market failures that mean that the costs aren't being sort of attributed properly and people aren't paying for the true costs? So I think that would kind of be the focus for me, sort of looking at whereabouts in this sustainability for AI are the market failures that need interventions, rather than, I think a lot of it will just get fixed by smart people are really interested in making chips more efficient, and new chips will come along and that will sort of just fix that problem.
Yeah, no, thanks. I wanted to check whether there are any questions coming in from online people. No, okay, not at the moment. So yes, one more from in the room here. Let's just bring the microphone over.
I do have a query around what you're saying in terms of the market will fix that. There's a huge amount of geopolitics around materials and the transition to a sustainable green world. And that geopolitics isn't about free market. I mean, even the European Union's Circular Economy Action Plan, that's about security of oversupplies, particularly around high value critical raw materials. So that it's not a market. It's capturing materials to transition, and there's a lot more behind that, the politics of it. And something else I just think, we're talking about energy. It is about sustainable development goals. There's 17 of those. So it is about equitable distribution, just transitions. It's also about materiality, waste, which is an enormous problem globally. And there's real concerns about the generation of e-waste resulting from transition to lots of Internet of Things devices, et cetera, et cetera. you know, and plastics that are used a lot. So I think there's a whole panoply of areas that we're concerned about, worried about. I would always say that there's good law department here. It's got AI people and environment people, but I just worry about saying, well, the market will sort it out. You know, yeah.
Well, I'd kind of say the regulation should address the market failures, and
you can't address all geopolitical problems through regulation. You know.
Provide an example.
Well, you know, for example, with critical metals, critical raw materials Act in the EU, they've introduced Critical Raw Materials Act to ensure that materials that are brought in to the EU can stay through, you know, a circular recycling, eco design, etc., etc. The Chinese are responding by making a claim for a new law that they own those materials regardless of the fact that they're in a product, which changes the way that we perceive a product. So the laws will change to address new property rights in claims, you know, which is going to rub up against our idea of a free market.
Yeah, I guess I didn't want to come across as a free market proponent. I'm just suggesting that certain aspects we shouldn't have to worry about. We don't have to worry about the energy consumption of ChatGPT, because at some point someone has to pay for that, and I don't think that will be a problem. I think that will just get resolved because NVIDIA is making faster chips, more efficient chips. Lots of people are engineering better chips. Some processes will get solved by themselves without intervention.
Yeah. So one example why I think the market will not solve the problems, there's a bit of a bubble going on that, you know, like with OpenAI, for example, they're now looking for, Sam Altman asked for 6 trillion. I'm not talking billion, for 6 trillion, because he wants to open his own processor factory and whatnot. So I don't think the market economics are at play. There's a bit of a bubble, and there's a lot of misinformation, I have to say as well, on OpenAI. They say, you know, it's learning like the brain does. Even neuroscientists who work for, let's say, DeepMind, making statements which are incorrect, just to get more funding, basically. So I don't think completely, exactly, creating a hype for more funding. As long as you get so much funding, you know, the free market economics will not take over, I think, and then all these unsustainable AI will continue. Just my views.
Just a comment on training these large models. Like, one of the problem is open sourcing the model and data used for training, and trying to reuse something that is trained, because if you have to every time retrain from scratch instead of leveraging something that is already trained through like lots of data, that's very power consuming, because if I'm a corporate and I have my own language model, I have trained it from scratch on my private data set. If I don't open source this model of my data, people cannot reuse it, and they have to train from scratch again, and so it's a loop that so you're not sharing the knowledge. You know what I mean?
Just provide my own comments, of course, on this chain of discussions right now. Yes, this is important point, but others would argue that if it's so important for your business, why should you provide it for the whole public to have access to it? So it also being providing the very thing that makes your business unique, for example. So just providing you the other side of the same discussion, the same coin, you know. But in terms of sustainability and etc., I think, of course, there is a point that we should not be worried about. Okay, what can we do to improve OpenAI's model development process and their business model, by the way? Okay, I'm not in position to do this actually, but my position would be the one that could be doing research and perhaps contribute to other stakeholders that would be interested on, okay, I understand the importance of being sustainable from the very beginning. So how can I build those AI models in this case that would be sustainable from the very beginning, not only in terms of environmental issues, energy efficiency or data efficiency issues, but also in terms of social issues. So to avoid my models to be biased, for example, to taking prejudiced decisions, for example. So the idea here that I think we should be worried about is to understand the importance of being sustainable from the very beginning, why we are developing our research, our products, our business, and why we are developing them, we are doing this in a sustainable way. So that's the whole point, environmentally and socially. So by doing this, then perhaps we can achieve a better future, a more sustainable future, because, you know, sustainability is not for the planet, it's for us. Because the world is going to be there even if we are extinct. So I think we should be sustainable because we need to be there as long as we can. You know, that's my personal point of view.
Okay, thanks. So maybe we might make this. Yeah.
Just a quick comment. Like for me, you cannot be sustainable socially if you are not open source, and if you are not like totally transparent about the data you are using, because of course there are going to be hidden biases and so on. So that's for me, that's really the first requirement. If you want, that won't ensure sustainability on the social level, but you cannot be if you're not open source.
Okay, so we've got just I think 2 minutes left just to wrap up. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to challenge each of the panel members to say just one highlight that they think what's important for the future. What should we do next from this gathering? So who wants to start? Erick. Just one thing, because I'm sure other people will have ideas.
Okay, as I just repeat what I just said, why do we thinking about being more sustainable, more responsible, and open as well?
Okay, thanks, Erick.
For me, it was about the sustainability of AI, because I looked more into sustainability, AI for sustainability. And I actually liked your talk a lot because, sorry, I'm pointing at you. I forgot your name, sorry. And so I think it's super exciting to see more the ongoing and future research that will help us to decarbonize the AI models themselves, so that we can actually get to a point where we can say AI for sustainability.
Okay, thanks, Jules. Romain.
Yeah, so I agree with Erick about the openness, and I think that there is something important about like spreading the word to the rest of our community first, and also to the public. And it's important to start a motion and like do this next year, but be like 300 and so on.
That's great. And Alex.
Yeah. So I think AI for sustainability is the thing to focus on. I think AI is this amazing tool, and we should be deploying it as far as we can, and the energy efficiency of AI will take care of itself.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much to all the panel and to you questions in the room as well. Thanks very much.